skill that I want to talk about is actually two skills, but I think they are, very similar, and so I just want to talk about, kind of the difference, and it's paraphrasing and summarization. So, paraphrasing is very important because you are, kind of retelling, the story of like what you heard, and you combine your own words while the words that they have used as well, and it kind of helps bring in together what was said, and to make sure that they're not having to retell the story over and over unsuccessfully, and to kind of check in to see what they really meant is what you understood. And so, when they tell you a story and you paraphrase, you're kind of just checking in with your client to say like, hey, this is kind of what I heard. Is this kind of like what you were trying to say, and that helps them so you can be more productive and move along in the session as well. While summarization is more almost like a paraphrasing, but you do it from like it's a longer period of time. So you can do it from like the last session. You can reflect or summarize your current session, and you would do that at the end of the session, or you can summarize kind of how things have been going midway through the session, and kind of check in to see bring up back things that happened that they said maybe earlier on that might be more effective to bring up now. So that is kind of how paraphrasing is. How I tend to kind of struggle with this of kind of paraphrasing and kind of understanding, and I guess this goes back into the active listening. Sometimes especially when it's a long story, trying to remember all the good points, and so this can be a really great skill on like paraphrasing to see if it is such a great long thing that they're talking about, that you check in and say like, hey, this is kind of what I heard, and to make sure that what you heard is kind of correct, while also with the summarization, you can reflect on the whole entire session, or right in the beginning you can kind of check back to say like, hey, like last session, like we talked about this, and bring up that relevance of the last session to see if things got better, if things got worse. For example, if you're during the last session your client was talking about anxiety, for most of the session, you can bring up like, hey, the last session we talked about anxiety, and kind of how it's been controlling, and how it's been affecting you like before an actual game. I wanted to check in to see how that has kind of been with you this past week, since the last time we met. Have you made any progress? Have you noticed anything different? And kind of bring in back that, so you have things kind of talk about and see how things have changed. um, I think this is very important with me, of wanting to get better, and so to actively trying to push for those things to notice is something that I really want to kind of work on as well. I and mainly just to distinguish between the two, since they are so similar, and to kind of understand when's the most appropriate time to kind of use it.